All right. Good morning, good evening, good night. You know where you are already. The NFT Live Studio on the Web3 network. We're here covering the industry with y'all. Appreciate you showing up early today with us to cover a lot of things. Maybe something we talked about yesterday for a little while. I'm interested to see what you think about that, Biggie. Gifted fresh off his GM Web3 morning show, fresh on Tuesdays in his Hex Spawn hoodie. What is going on, my man?
Fresh as a daisy. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. Another great combo this morning. We found out Coinbase, some news about Coinbase NFTs. So I don't know if we want to get into that right now off the top. But yeah, some interesting things, some heavy things coming through the show this morning over there on the Twitters. And you know what? I feel like I'm still waking up a little bit. I wish, you know what? I wish I was at Knox's diner right now, getting some amazing food, maybe some bacon and eggs. He's making me hungry over here talking about roasted garlic gnocchi. But yeah, I don't know. Happy to be here with y'all. Happy to be here with you, Biggie. What's up?
Likewise, my friend. Dude, if you're saying you're still barely waking up, I don't know how you do it, Gift. Shout out to you, man. Like, you do the spaces and then jump right in over here. Always chock full of energy. I need to know what you're doing because it's something else. I'm also really happy to be here with you guys. Ready to talk shop.
He's got a regiment. Don't let him talk to you about the regiment. We saw Biggie's regiment at the live stream this weekend on Saturday. We were with BasedHeads. Did we have like breaking news come through on BasedHeads while we were on the show?
It sounded like maybe there was a Twitter hack.
I heard you guys mention it in the spaces. I jumped into the Discord real quick. There wasn't a mention about it. I don't know if it was a while back, like maybe like a quick thing or something, but I didn't see any talk about it. Maybe it's like a fake account or something, but yeah, I don't see anything.
Yeah, I'm looking at the BasedHeads website now. I don't see anything.
It looks like as of 2 hours ago, they're tweeting out, Twitter Spaces, and 4 hours ago, Karma is a bitch is such a good name. Honestly, you know what? It takes me back to some of my favorite comedy films when I was a kid. The Austin Powers ones. They always had the ridiculous names.
Yeah. Karma is a bitch.
So the ridiculous antagonist name in the BasedHeads Trashland world is Karma is a bitch.
He's a bitch. Rick and Morty had a great episode the other day where they were like playing on antagonist names. There was an antagonist that like tried to get you to relive something you didn't relive, and it was continuous. And his name was Previous Leon. So it was previously on. So it was good. You need to watch that episode. GIF Rick and Morty.
That's a
it's
thinker.
Still a goat show. Yeah,
it's a thinker.
It was better when you were there. But anyways, Gabe, I don't know why your comments are showing up on YouTube, but they're not showing up on Restream. So I don't know if you have like something against Restream. Restream's got something against you. But I'm gonna try to find your comments. Anyways, it's nice to have you. You said anyone got a Toshi. Happy to be here. And Gabe, we need you on the channel. You're an absolutely fantastic co-host here. Let me know when you want to come back on as a co-host. Would love to get you on. Otherwise, we will get started here very shortly. Squashman, Nick Sorvis says, "Pomp it, you mutant teenage degen sewer dwellers." Love it. OVOT vroom vroom here from Don R. Nox Darkness, of course, making some garlic gnocchi there. Hash Rhymes, good to see you. We are just getting started. We just pressed live, so appreciate you guys showing up early. I'm going to link out really quick. I was on the BasedHeads site, but let me get back to where I was. That is the NFT live link that I just put in chat. If you guys could like or retweet that to get as many people in here as possible, that'd be awesome. And while you're doing that, if we can ask a little more of you, if you could leave a like on the episode so that people out in the non-metaverse, the world out there can find us and talk shit about us in the comments, because that's apparently what happens on YouTube. I've just been bombarded. The Dookey Dash streams have been just like getting a lot of hateful comments. I think I'm gonna give it up.
Is it because your gameplay? Is it because you suck at the game? Be honest.
I don't know, Gifted.
I mean, that's pretty solid score, but you've got all the boosts and stuff. Like you're using 8 point, right?
So what is like
at the top?
What is
the boost?
So who's on top of the leaderboard? What's the highest score right now? Like, where do you rank there
Oh, we're
Q.
starting the Yuga Lab show. It's so best rank right there is
555.
So I'm
Pretty good.
500th in the world here, Biggie. I'm a
Holy
world
shit,
champion
dude.
here. You're sitting
Isn't
with
it like
500
6,000 people
500
playing?
555th. I mean, come on.
Damn.
Quite top 500.
Just rounding a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe, that one works. So that, for whatever reason, that one works. Donar saying, I like the dash streams. Yeah, I was playing this morning, and GIF, if you want to get a top score, you have to use.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Come
That's the whole point, and why it's a really smart ApeCoin mechanic.
There you go.
They're smart, man. They know what they're doing, bro. I don't know. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole yet. Somebody mentioned the Toshis. I think it was Gables might have mentioned the Toshis. I mean,
Fucking
this
Toshis.
is the Toshis is a really interesting case study to look at because OpenSea now has their own launchpad, similar to what Magic Eden has, similar to what FX Hash kind of does with their collection pages. Yeah, OpenSea now has their own launchpad for NFT collections, and the Toshis is one of the projects that they partnered with to use this launchpad. So I think it's worth looking at, and I can share my screen if that'll help.
Yeah, let's get into Toshis here in just a sec. Just to wrap up, because I don't think we're going to touch on Dookey Dash today past this initial conversation. Biggie, to answer your question, the top score here is 579,000. If you want to break into the top 50, you need 449,000, which I don't think is unattainable based on where I'm sitting right now. The game gets extremely, if you can get into that 250, 300 range, the game gets easier. And what I mean by that is, like, if you mess up, when you go back, the initial start of the game is so much easier because the game slows down. So if you can end up getting to 200 and 300, the game actually gets a lot easier. But if you can't get there, you're gonna have a tough time, like, with the initial part of the game because it doesn't slow down. Other than that, while we're still on this topic, and again, we're just gonna spend a little bit more. Gifted 2.85 floor on these sewer passes. We were talking earlier today on what these sewer passes are going to do. We have a 2.85 floor, meaning the sewer tier 1s are going to go for 2.85. And if I go into activity, and I don't want to do this to you, you can do this to me whenever you want, by the way.
You're going to do it anyway, aren't you?
I know.
Wow.
I am. Let's see. A tier 4 just went for 7 ETH. So that's where we're standing on sewer passes right now. Everyone is basically anticipating this mech reveal, which is, again, we talked about it on the morning show. Play the Yuga hype. The standard situation is buy into a little bit right before the euphoria, and then as we get that post reveal dip, probably sell around then, and then you can pick up later when it's a little bit lower, and then over time, a lot of Yuga assets, they just go up in value. Again, that seems like the low IQ kind of play there, but it's true.
It's interesting because this is an example where I basically went against my own gut, because I was like, Q, you were in one of those spaces where we were listening to other people talk about, like, their strategies, and I was listening to a bunch of other people. And I basically let my sort of survival, sort of like reactive self, like the sort of fight or flight thing, lead me into making a rash decision of just saying, you know what, I'll take the dub. I'll get some quick liquidity, even though my gut the whole time, my conviction was, I think it's going to do well and I should hold. That was the way that I wanted to play it. And I basically went against that and made a quick decision to flip it for 4.5. It was a mistake. And I shouldn't have. I should have listened to my own gut, and I should have hodled. I should have stuck with it instead of letting a bunch of other people's voices and their fucking nonsense speculation kind of steer me into thinking otherwise.
Yeah, we're here, and it's for the content that we're giving you a hard time. Obviously, I don't truly want you to miss out on any games.
I'm giving myself a hard time. I wake up in the morning and first thing I do is go look at the fucking floor, Q. It's killing me. It's fucking.
But what? You gotta play it like Lot's wife. You never look back, GIF, and honestly, now you have liquidity that you don't know what's coming down the pipe that you will be able to play. So that's the way I'd approach it, man. Bygones be bygones. you're still well positioned in the Yuga universe, you know.
Quantum Variant saying GIF is fading Yuga. Biggie, I posed this question into the room this morning and to Gifted himself going through this right now. And hey, listen, if you're in the space long enough, this shit happens like all the fucking time. Like we're not up here saying that Gifted is alone in this. But is the pain, and I'll ask this to chat as well, is the pain of missing out on an asset's growth once you sell more pain than when you lose money on, say, buying an asset that goes down in value and then you're sitting there with like 50% loss? Which one is more painful? Watching a train leave the station with a price going up, or if you have a NFT that doesn't do as well? I'll answer first. It's definitely the second one for me. It's the leaving the station. My anxiety goes up a lot when on watching that floor price. I know I shouldn't do it. You should just, I think Jessica Trofsky said it, like tear the rearview mirror off and say, on to the next, find the next opportunity. But my anxiety goes up a lot because I can't do that. What do you got, Biggie?
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, I think both can be equally scorchingly painful, right? And like I wear the things that I've missed like a badge of honor. I try not to like revisit it all the time, but it's hard, right? Like when I mean, man, I could tell you some stories from Bitcoin before Ethereum even existed. Man, so I'll tell you this quick little story. I was on a plane going to India. It was 2009. It was the MIT, what's it called? It's like a technology review. I forget the name of it. And there was this article on like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and I read it and I was like, this is cool. And I took down the web page addresses and everything. I got over there, and I remember when I went there, I had this little Hackintosh like Dell Mini that I like put together because I didn't want to take my actual MacBook and get it stolen or lose it. And when I got there, I started reading up on it, and it was just so daunting, man. Right, like wallet and this and that and the faucet, and blah blah blah. And I was just like, close it. Never looked at it again. Just never looked at it again. Got back home, blah blah blah. This is that. A couple months, a year happened, and that's when the whole thing came out. And I was just like, wow, dude, like, are you shitting me, man? Like, if I would have just taken an hour or two, and I have plenty of time while I was over there to have done that, but I didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't do it, right? And to this day, like, I wonder, I'm like, am I that guy that could have been like the pizza guy, right? Or this or that, like holding a bunch of coin and this and that. But I think it's very easy to think like, oh, I could have done this and be a billionaire. But to think that you would have gotten through all those ups and downs and you would have never sold and you would have been just diamond-handed the whole thing and you've been so freaking perfect in the way you played it, is not realistic. And I think it's also like, it's just part of my story now that I get to tell this funny story of like, man, like I was listening to this thing and looking at it, and it happened to me with punks, and it happened to me with apes. And it happened to me with all kinds of stuff all the freaking time. And yeah, like you remember them and you're just kind of like, dang, what if? But then you really just have to be like, hey, it's a great lesson. It's part of being here in the space. I know people that are way smarter than I am that did the same thing or worse, like sold really early or, didn't do wallet security correctly. So I think you just got to embrace the wave you're on and try to not beat yourself up or torture yourself about missing stuff in the space and remind yourself that you're still early. I know people hate hearing that these days, but when you look at the active wallets, especially in the NFT space, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to participate in like groundbreaking projects, and you're going to get rugged and things are going to happen, right? Like, it's just part of the game. Like, I think, if you asked me back in the day, like why I was in the game, like so many, it's like, it was speculation, right? And I was after like, just, seeing number go up and thinking that I'm rich, right? And then going through a fucking down market and being like, not so much, motherfucker. But now if you ask me, like, why am I in the space? Because I want to do this the rest of my life. Like, this is what I want to, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to stake my claim. This is where I want to build. This is where I want to do relationships. And that's where my money goes. Like, it's a very small percentage of my portfolio that I play with the Nyan Cats and the
That's
Toshis and this and that. It's like whatever, man. In the end, it's like it's the good assets that they bring back so much more value than just the money aspect of it, right? So
If I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know if you had anything based on that, because that was sage advice all around from Biggie there. Sage advice in the chat as well. Gabe saying the best time to buy Bitcoin was 14 years ago. The second best time to buy Bitcoin was 13 years ago. But the
100%.
14th best time to buy a Bitcoin is today. So
Yeah.
take your shot. We're early.
I mean, yeah, I'm not big on regrets. I'm not big on what ifs and doing a lot of that. I think the challenge right now is that this is ongoing and something that I'm still trying to get back into, and so I have to pay attention to it. So it's like every day I'm looking back at the mistake and I see it. It's right in my face right now, you know. And that's the hard part about this. But yeah, it's all good, right? And I think you should only have real like big regrets around really big life lessons. Like to me, this isn't that big of a regret, right? It's like, okay, I missed out on making maybe a couple ETH, something like that. It's like, that's not a huge regret. It's more just right now I have to stare at my mistake as I try and figure out what to do next to stay on this wave. It's just calibrating. Well, and to me, actually, the more
NFT is tough.
Well, I think the more interesting part right now is to actually try and strategize from here, right? And so, like, I was asking Hugh, honestly, what do you think is the next move? Because there's two important dates with this mint right now. There's February 8th, which is when all the scores get locked in, and then I think the 16th, February 16th. Is that right?
I want to confirm that. I'll go to the FAQ right now and make sure.
Yeah. So that, like, let us know in the chat. What do you think I should do? Like, should I keep waiting? Should I like just ape in and fucking give in and buy a tier 1 for 3 ETH? Or do I just wait until all the scores are locked? Or do you think after the reveal, some of them are going to get floored and dump? Or do they all go up after? I mean, this is the thing with Yuga is that, like, dude, like, there's not usually a massive dump until there's like a big rise. Like usually shit runs way up before there's a big dump on Yuga. That's what I'm worried about right now.
After you play Dookey Dash, you'll need to hold on to Sewer Pass until February 15th. Then, if you've played and have a score of greater than 0, your Sewer Pass will be eligible to transform into something new. Also, there's like multiple evolutions to this. Remember, there's like 3 separate evolutions or 2 separate evolutions. The one thing I'd say, I was caught a little bit off guard with the question. I don't think I was ready for it, but I tried to answer it by giving the timeline of those Yugas, right? Post reveal, pre reveal, where they go eventually. It's tough to chase an asset, right? Like once you sell. I haven't had success like trying to get back in afterwards. You know what I mean? Because then
that's the situation that I'm in. It's a tough situation because I want to be in on it. It's just a matter of when is the smart time, Donna
R saying I was one of the first 100 employees at Microsoft and left.
Wow.
I could have bought any domain name I wanted in the early 90s when I was on the Internet Explorer team at Microsoft. Wait, this is starting to hurt. Did you have something there?
Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself, man.
Man, that .com boom. I mean, that was a land rush, right? Imagine like, and I think back on that time too, and I'm like, dang, like, how did I not think about it as real estate, right? Like as digital real estate back in the day. Why wasn't I so aware of those possibilities? Oh, man, yeah, I feel you, Don. But it's that stuff that, like, I don't know. I find that they're like my biggest lessons. They're obviously the hardest learned, and they always pay dividends down the line. Just you can't help but get smarter and wiser, right? When you get burnt like that. So yeah,
that's the thing. Learning from it and learning from those pieces. I want to wrap up this Sewer Pass and Dookey Dash discussion. So Bryson's like one of probably the largest NFT and Web3 gamer right now, just like by popularity. This started with him getting paid by one person, and now he's like on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pieces. And I think these people actually have to trust him. I don't think there's a warm wallet situation with these. I think it literally is like you have to own the Sewer Pass in your wallet. I think the warm wallet piece was on the mint. So there's an element of trust to this, but I want to get to this comment right here. which I think was thought-provoking. So this is what Web3 gaming is about, By the end of the competition, you're going to have the top few dozen players playing against themselves on several different passes for the top 1,000 spots on the leaderboard. I thought that was a great comment based on like what we're seeing, right? Like
my question is to that, Q, is this something new? Like this doesn't happen in regular gaming, like where people will like, like want to get a specific armor or this or that and either hire or buy it from somebody else that farms it. I mean, is this not like, I don't feel like it's too different, right? Like this.
It's true, Big. I agree with you. What I would say to that is like, this is like that on steroids, on crack, on meth, because you have all of the NFT assets that you can then sell. Like World of Warcraft, I'll give you an example. Like they used to have these gold farming pieces where people could like literally make money selling gold that they farmed in WoW. You needed to be like an absolute degen. Like they probably got paid $6 an hour like in China to do this stuff, and then companies were made off of it. And then you go onto the site and buy gold in bulk from these people. This is like a whole nother thing because who knows what the assets are going to be post reveal. If the assets are extremely better because you got in the top 100, then this aspect becomes a lot more, I think, just volatile. It always did exist is what I'm trying to get, but I think when you enter in like the difference between a $1,000 and a $10,000 asset, you're going to see that, but more.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. It's just, it's new territory, folks, right? Like we've never had assets that are as volatilely explosive as crypto and NFTs, right? Like we've never had. And my only fear here is that like people expect this to go on forever. And they think that this is just the new norm. And it's just not, I don't feel that's the case. Like I definitely think there's somewhere in the middle, like, makes sense. But to think that, and you see it all over the space, right? Like people immediately, a project launches or a new announcement comes up and if it doesn't perform to their expectations, immediately you just see all the FUD and everybody commenting and just going freaking nuts. It's like, you got anything better to do with your fucking life? Like, come on, man.
So it's interesting to look at like what happens in the gaming world with these types of things, right? So with Rocket League, so some of y'all might know I'm a sweaty Rocket League tryhard. That's my get down. So in Rocket League, there's something called elo boosting, right? So elo boosting is basically people will hire professional or top tier Rocket League player to play on their account to boost up their scores so that they get, higher ranks and rewards and stuff in the game. And in the Rocket League community, people know that this kind of happens, but if it comes out that like a professional has been doing this, like they've been renting themselves out and boosting people's elos, they get banned from competing. Like it's very much shamed and shunned and like sort of illegal within the professional community to be elo boosting people's accounts and participating in this sort of like cheating of the ranking system, especially within these competitive environments. And so I think it's interesting to look here where it's like, it's kind of out in the public that everybody's doing this and it's kind of just accepted that, yeah, of course people are going to do this. I'm wondering at what point when, because I think what he's saying is like, look, this is actually an important competition that has real value attached to it. Are we all okay with this? Like, are we okay with the fact that like all the top ones are probably being elo boosted or like, gamed?
Yep. Like maybe they should make a little extra effort to at least signal that, right? Where it's like, This is not a normal person playing this, getting these scores.
Basically, one guy is playing on like 8 to 9 different accounts. And it's like, Yuga, you could probably do something to police this, right? Because to Giv's point, this elo boosting does happen in League of Legends too. Like I'm a big League of Legends player. I think me and Gif are like on the same rank relative to the game that we play, which is pretty high up. And so like when you have an elo boost situation, you for like that, like a Rocket League game is only 5 minutes. I think League of Legends 35 minutes. If you play with the elo boost, dude, you have a bad time because essentially your team sucks.
It's
And
toxic.
It's toxic, but it's not as impactful as what's happening here, right? It's like you deal with it, and then
the stakes are much lower. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
The stakes are really high.
That's what I'm trying to tell Biggie. Yep.
That's what's crazy about this is that it's kind of out in the open, and everybody's just like, yeah, whatever. Like you know, go get your bag. But also the stakes are way higher than just in like a Rocket League rank or something like that. And I just got to shout out, Gables, bro. I'm at Gifted on Xbox Live. Come find me. Let's fucking play twos. And I mean, the highest rank I've been on twos is Champ 2. I think right now I'm sitting at Champ 1. So yeah, let's play some twos, bro.
I don't think Quantum Variant saying VGF was saying this yesterday in the GM Web3 Morning Show. I feel like maybe VGF was talking about it. I feel like I was raising this argument, but I don't feel like anyone cares. Like I keep bringing this up, and like everyone's like, eh.
So to your point here, Q, could it be that you two are actual gamers, but like going to that argument where we're talking about that the majority of these people that own these high value assets are not. They don't have time to play. And they're totally okay with farming it out to somebody else.
They're fine paying someone else to do it. That's fair, right? Like there's the answer for people that aren't gamers. If you have some money, you can potentially get in there. Okay, so I do have this BasedHeads link. I want to get off the Dookey Dash because I don't want to spend the whole episode in it. Thank you for those who made it through the Yuga Lab show.
Yeah.
So what's happening here?
I've been seeing this pushed all over the place. I think they're going to launch on Flow, big fashion house with some heavy hitters supposedly. A lot of pre-mints being promoted in different discords. I was going to do it, Q, but then go to the pre-mint and just let me show you what pisses me off. Okay. No, the pre-mint. I
need a little bit more direction. What do you mean the pre-mint?
Oh, they had a pre-mint. I think that's what they're talking about. Like if you go to the Discord, you're able to sign up for the pre-mint if you're a base head. And there's a couple of other Discords offering the same thing. I think like
there's a pre-mint link doing it for base heads.
What's really I have a hard time like accepting is like I don't mind you asking me to join your Discord. I don't mind you asking me to follow some accounts. I don't mind you saying like it, but when you say like and retweet, it bugs me, man. Because now I'm feeling like you're asking me to spam my followers with shit that they might not give a crap about.
That's fair.
And it's like, dude, it starts feeling very affiliate marketing. And so I was like starting to jump through the hoops of this. But whenever I see that, it's immediate. Like it's very seldom where I'll retweet it, right? Like. It's like, come on, man. Like I'm, like it's not like I'm trying to be like a super influencer here or anything, but I mean, I do shit post and stuff, but I want it to be from my own volition. Like, I don't want you to like try to hijack my fucking account to push your shit. It's like, do a good job of it yourself, and you'll earn those retweets. Like so. Anyways, yeah.
This is why you follow people like Biggie, because he's got just too much integrity. He's just got too much integrity to put up with this shit. I'm getting this vibe that feels very 2021 when I'm seeing all these sort of like whole land, trash land. It's like the something verse, the something like I don't know. Are y'all feeling that? Where it's like like do we need another verse? Do we need another land? Like,
do we want to have the metaverse discussion here?
Kinda. I mean,
we need to get Supermassive. We need to get Supermassive on the show for that discussion. I'm sure he'll have some pretty hot takes on it.
I do think there's an interesting potential parallel between what Biggie was sharing earlier about Bitcoin and our inability as mere mortals and humans to see far into the future and actually like make smart choices based upon a 5-year timeline. What is going on with the metaverse? I know this is a bigger conversation, but like right now things seem pretty dire, but we don't even know, like all this land that everybody is speculated on, it could still end up being incredibly valuable in a couple of years. We really don't know. But right now, I don't know. Like it's hard for me to get myself to buy into any virtual land right now, even though I'm very aware that it still could become very valuable.
I think it's tied with the gaming sector on the short-term timelines, right? I think like Metaverse long-term, potentially, if we're like all living in there and doing whatever, like maybe that could be obviously a case. People want to own land, meat space. We're moving more digitally. Maybe they want to own land digitally. It's really tied to the gaming sector in the short term because what you're seeing with the Metaverse is the same thing you're seeing with gaming, dead. So those two narratives
Axie
run
Infinity, a quick headline. Axie Infinity users just jumped 60%. And it seems like, I don't know.
So here's what we'll do. We'll get into the quick news real quick, folks. I do want to share this BasedHeads, the Fabricant drop, because I just love the content that comes out around BasedHeads. Also, Colby Cassell was asking a bass head, not a bass head, not a fish head, a bass head. We'll get into BasedHeads. Probably not today, but we'll drop the link here so you can check them out. It's a project that we're very interested in and own. Obviously, from Supermassive, we were on with them this past weekend. But let's watch this. Let's see what they got. Okay.
Hype.
So we have Trashland, and now we have Whole Land. Is that what I'm getting? Like these are like in the same lore. I'm confused at like this.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that this is just like a utility play for BasedHeads where they just partnered and say, hey, we can get you on an allow list. I think that's the only, how they overlap is that the BasedHeads team is just looking to add utility as quickly as they can.
Yeah, they've been allocated an allow list spot, like certain amount, and they're promoting it. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Giff? I didn't like the characters. They were a little weird to me. I'm all for spandex or whatever that thing is, but I don't know.
High fashion is weird as fuck. Like that is just a fact. Like if you've ever paid attention to what's going on at like runway shows, dude, it is fucking like sometimes grotesque. Like they celebrate the weirdest shit in high fashion. And so like, yeah, this feels very much like high fashion. I get that. So it's not my normal get down. What I didn't really like at the end was that they literally just like threw a bunch of these fucking like buzzwords together. You know what I mean? It's like, they're just like wearable fashion. Like it's like digital, digiphysical. Yeah. It's like digiphysical. Like that's a AR, VR. It's like, they kind of just like bombard you with a bunch of buzzwords at the end. Like I'm just like, that doesn't mean anything. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. What the fuck am I getting into here? And this is, what I think it's interesting. This in like putting it next to the Nyan balloon, and like comparing like two very different marketing and like project styles. Because we were talking about like what is happening with the Nyan balloon and like why is this taking off? Why is this like simple burn, like get a yellow balloon or an orange balloon? It's like, why is this very simple roadmap of like, just choose your balloon color doing so well? And I think the simplicity of that story and your ability to follow along with that is a big part of it. Whereas like this, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how to get involved or why I want to. It's I don't know, two very different things. One is tremendously, straightforward. Even if there's still big Riddler energy, like you don't really know what's going to pay off with the balloons, but you still kind of just have a very simple step. Like here, do this, you get this. And then you got,
you know what it reminds?
Itching. Hold on, we're not going to have the Nyan Cat discussion yet. Giff is absolutely itching for us to get to these topics. He's brought up like all the quick news, so I have to do a better job keeping this on track. I do want to
right out of the gate, Giff.
I do want to get to these comments. These were awesome. While we were chatting, we did recognize some of them. Colby, I see you there. Squashman, to Biggie's point, I think people don't care, and this was referencing Dookey Dash. A large portion are not gamers. And then we don't know yet exactly how the final score impacts mint and reveal. People will care more when it's visible and known. Marty McFly saying dogs just ran. Don R. Pyramid Scheme of Twitter, like and retweet. And Prodigy's asking us to move on too. To be honest, rough morning for me. I'm a little depressed. Can we start talking about Porsche again so I can laugh when Biggie's rage responds to the Web2 invasion?
I see what it's about, Prodigy. Get Biggie all riled up. Bring it, man. I still woke up wanting to kick a Porsche.
Marty McFly saying, I agree, no retweet unless it's really good. I think that was a fantastic point. That just asking a little bit too much there with the retweet. Quantum variant gaming is the best use case for Metaverse. I see everything else seems like a land grab. And finally, Jack's Hideaway saying, cannot escape Supermassive's influencer traits and tendencies. Got to take the bad with the good.
To me, the thing about like what Biggie's pointing out here is like when and how you ask for certain things from an audience really matters. And the issue with this is that like this is a brand new product. You're not familiar with it or in the community. You have no attachment to it so far. And that's the issue, is that like get me into your community, show some value, get me excited first before you start getting me to want to like promote you all over my socials. Like I'm not even in your community yet. This is like literally like step 0 before I even get to step 1, and you're already trying to get me to fucking, post you all over my shit. So I think that's what's interesting, is like understanding if you're a product manager or a marketing person, like know when is the right time to ask people to take certain steps. And I think, for Biggie, it was literally just the retweet was like too much. He was like, you know what? I got all the way here and I'm like, fuck this. That's actually really interesting.
And then I went back and I unfollowed too. Like I went and undid whatever I did. Yeah, no, of course. Fuck that shit. I'm not gonna
Hey, I feel it. I feel it. It's starting to bubble. All right, we're getting there. Arafim, we are talking Porsche NFTs. Obviously, you guys saw the thumbnail. We're going to talk why that mint might be the worst mint of 2023. And I believe the Game of Thrones mint was in 2023. So this is up there. This is up there. Arafim. Yes, Biggie?
I was just going to say, at least the Porsche didn't have fucking 4x4 wheels on and shit, right? I'll give him that.
At least the window wasn't
looks
off
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Arafim saying insane. This week's French fashion show included huge faux lion head dresses. Jack Sider was saying 100% gift, but most influencers have no shame. And with that, we will get into the episode. Before Biggie loses his gasket, we want to save that energy for the Porsche segment. We are going to get into the NFTGO market overview here. So the market sentiment doesn't feel that cool. Like this was 23 yesterday. We're kind of tracking
it's
that.
It's interesting. So the Milk Road email also has a similar market sentiment that they put out in their email. And actually, this was the first time that it was like it's like the greed versus fear index, right? Yep. And this was the first time that it was like almost into the greed side. Like it was like all the way up past like 50%. So I think it's interesting to contrast that here, where they're feeling it's even cooler. They're obviously much more. They're paying attention to, I guess, very different data
points. Yeah, different data points. Traders kind of equal a little bit more on the selling side here, and the 30-day profit and loss. Y'all are still in the red, so don't act like you're making any money here. On the 7-day timeline, the blue chip index got a little volatile over the last 24 hours. We zoom out to 30 days. Again, this is for ETH. So if we're looking at USD. Looks like we're good, but it's still in this area of volatility. We switch back to ETH. Yeah, so blue chip index still down over the last 30 days in ETH terms. Market cap. What do we think here? Do we just start talking about this related to USD for the most part? Like, what are you looking at blue chip index wise, like price? We're looking at ETH most of the time, right?
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't fully understand what this blue chip index is.
Likely, what it is, it's a conglomeration of all
a basket
blue
of
chip prices related to ETH. So they probably took like 10 projects. They said
equal weighted basket of like the top volume assets trading or something like that. Probably apes, punks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, however they define all their blue chips, this is the index of how they're all doing.
So their basket likely says, hey, Bored Apes, CryptoPunks, a couple others have gone up in USD over the last 30 days. But in the last 30 days.
Yo,
the
you
ETH
know
volume
what's
is-
fascinating about this is you start to look at this as a sort of S&P 500 or like a NASDAQ or its own sort of exchange, or even then you start to look at certain DAOs or collector groups like a Proof Collective as ETFs or something like that, that are investing into these, this group of assets. I think that's really fascinating to like, if you extrapolate out from here, where does all this go? I could totally see there being more sort of formal investment vehicles created around certain assets like that, like these indexes. And I don't know, like it's so volatile. Like, I don't know how you'd get there eventually, but like you can already see that, like how it gets there.
The idea, I think, is that the baskets are less volatile, right? Because you don't have the volatility of
it should help
one project.
hedge a little bit. Yeah, that
So
is, I think, the point.
If you want to invest in the metaverse, why don't you invest in a basket of sand, mana, and a couple of these other cryptocurrency tokens? We already see a little bit of that.
Yeah, and you have like what's it? It's been a while since There's an index protocol that does that. They've partnered with Bankless. They've done like the bed index, Metaverse. They have like certain tokens that are exactly what you're talking about, Q, like a basket of assets, and they're
somebody create an ETF or a DAO around a blue chip index like this that I can buy into, please. Let's do it.
I guarantee some DAO exists.
I'm sure it exists.
Metaverse index down. There's your sentiment for Metaverse, GIF.
There it is.
Form.
Yeah. $28.
But again, you look at that and you could say this is the time to buy, right? You could say like this could be the best time to buy to set yourself up for 2 to 3 years from now. It's hard for me even understanding that like this could be a great place to be. It's hard for me to buy virtual land right now. But again, I think if there was an index, I'd feel more safe doing it than like betting my whole, bag on like Sandbox versus Decentraland.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Marty McFly saying, I care about ETH more when I'm looking at these charts. Marty McFly saying there are NFT perpetual trades happening already. Market and volume over the last 30 days, up 30% on the volume side. That seems pretty significant. USD even more so. So we're getting a lot more, activity at the start of the 2023. I think all of us feel that. Holders and traders, not sure how much we want to be looking at that, but yeah, again, 30 days we're up. Category market cap, collection distribution. I like looking at this over 7 days. Sewer passes the memes by 6529, making
killing
it, and then the captains making a entrance here on the list as well. So, all right, that is going to do it for the market overview portion there. I did want to do one quick follow-up.
We need a better name than market overview. Somebody give us a better segment name for this NFTGO segment.
I want to do a follow-up here
overview
on Bonk. We were covering Bonk over the last month. It literally had its month birthday today. 30-day portion. It's been launched. We can see the volume has significantly decreased, and really what I'm looking at, guys, again, we saw
typical, right?
Yeah,
typical.
Exactly.
They all look the same.
And this area right here is interesting. I know you can't see it because there's a box, but if I move my cursor to the left, I'm talking about the end of this tail. It looks that's a dangerous territory for Bonk to be in, because what you see is like a little bit of a dip there where there's not a ton of volume, and you see it kind of consistently go down. There are a lot of tokens that look like that, where over the next 30 days, this is what it ends up doing. Boom, 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 and then it kind of dies out. We've been covering Bonk on the channel, wanted to bring that up. I think they're active, trying to do different activities, but Biggie, what we were saying when it first launched is it needs to hold out over time.
Yeah, indeed. And it was very clear that it was a meme play, right? We mentioned that as well, which is they can be powerful, but they are fickle and not easy to sustain, right? And if you wanted to do a meme play, well, there's one that's already in the top 10 market cap. It's been there for like ages. It's like, why wouldn't you play that one? that's got a lot more people behind it than this brand new one that came off conveniently right at the back of like the worst time in Solana's history. My condolences go out if you guys fumbled into that.
Well, we actually called this right. We called this right because we also said, hey, if you caught it, if you got into it, make sure to fucking get out at the top because it's gonna fucking crash. Like we told everybody, take your bags and fucking like sell, basically. Like make sure to take profits when the shit runs up because the chance of it crashing after a big pump like that is massive. So we called this shit right. And I think to y'all's point, it's like you've seen this story play out a million different times across a million different tokens. I love the name Bag Check for this segment. I think Bag Check is a great
check
name.
Your bags. That's good.
Time for the bag check. Let's go.
Squashman saying the next drop for meme cards is a Dirty Robot card, so likely any holders of Dirty Robot will be put on an allow list. Probably doesn't apply to Wrangle holders, but who knows? Marty McFly saying go to NFTFi and see what one BAYC token costs live right now. I love the combination of DeFi and NFTs. If it's made more digestible by a lot of people, it's going to do a lot for the liquidity in NFTs. It's tough to kind of the tooling's not there. Quite there, and we'll get better at that. Obviously,
how's Art Gobblers doing?
Oh, Art Gobblers!
Oh,
you need me to check your bag? Did you buy an Art Gobblers GIF? No, okay. Don R saying bag check. Yes, Jack's Hideaway saying great name bag check. So we got bag check,
dude. Some people were buying into Art Gobblers at like 25 ETH, bro. That's all I know.
That sell into Euphoria. That's the one.
Ouch.
That's one rule.
Ouch.
Sell into that euphoria, folks. Okay, we still have quick news, and we're at about an hour, so we're going to continue our movement here. Overall, we see that that bag check portion as well includes ERC20s. We're pretty stagnant here at 22. I think Bitcoin hit about 23. We saw a little bit of a pump like 4 or 5 days ago. Now we've kind of crabbed out, so we'll see where we're at. It's nice to see $1,600 ETH. Obviously ApeCoin, this isn't the Yuga Lab show, but it's still doing well. GIF. I had a tweet from Pio that I wanted to get to very quickly. This is a lightning discussion. Web3 is being thrown into this portion by Pio, the guys over there at the Nifty Portal. He says Web3 is likely to go down as a bad rebrand. Search traffic for it never got any traction at all. Internal industry term.
So I'll push back against Pio in this regard. Okay, it hasn't been a rocket ship. It hasn't been adopted just yet. But if we can look at history, just look at cell phones, right? 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. It's just, I don't know why people obsess so much about this shit. It just, all it needs to do is make sense for the average Joe. You're not gonna fucking like rebrand it into some meta fancy. Please come up with an alternative. But I think Web 2.0, Web 3 just makes sense. That's all you need to know. It needs to indicate the direction we're going. That's all it is. It'll be adopted sooner or later. And I like the twang of it, to be honest, right?
I think he's looking at the wrong metrics here. Because you could also make the same argument about NFTs in general. NFTs had like a crazy run up in search volume, and then there's like none. So does that mean NFTs don't matter or aren't being adopted? I think he's saying that
Web3 didn't have the same trajectory with the search term.
To me, that makes me feel better. I'm not worried about the search term right now. Like I think this is something that grows over time. Like we're still early on Web3. Most people have not even heard the term Web3, right? Like, and
when Web2 people hear Web3, what do you think they think? They're like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, but
how is that different from the web I'm on right now?
Yeah, I think that at a certain point, like Web3 hits a tipping point, but whether or not like what signifies a tipping point in Web3 to me is not if everybody's searching for the term Web3. Right? Like, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of focused on the wrong metrics a little bit. So,
I mean, look, it's out for debate, clearly. Like,
also, what is he worried? Like when he says it's a bad rebrand, what is he trying to rebrand? Is he talking about NFTs? Like, I'm actually kind of confused on his point, right? Like,
it wasn't a rebrand. It was basically
the premise.
It was a
what
rebrand.
he's saying.
It was a rebrand, I think, on the word blockchain. I really think that people took the word blockchain and the things that we're doing here, or crypto even. It was trying to take the word crypto and make it something else. I think you would say blockchain or crypto is a rebrand.
So then here's the thing. I think it's actually being successful because if you look at negative sentiment, where's the negative sentiment on Web3? There's not. Nobody's fudding Web3 yet. People are fudding NFTs. People are fudding crypto. People are fudding blockchain still with all the scams. Nobody's out here saying Web3 is a problem. So to me, it's already proving that it has more longevity potential because it's harder to FUD. And that's one of the whole issues of like, why would you choose a term over another, is because of negative perceptions in a market that are hard to upturn. So I'm kind of confused on his premise in terms of what we're rebranding. If it is blockchain and crypto, I think it's already doing its job because it's giving us a way to talk about what we're doing without attaching ourselves to these very, very negatively stereotyped terms. And that's I think going to prove out to be very, very powerful in the future, regardless of if there's a fast run up. Like, dude, focusing on these pumps and shit is, again, I don't think if you're trying to build something sustainable long term, which is what we're trying to do, you shouldn't be trying to do this, because what this does is it bonks. It does what Bonk coin does, right?
But blockchain is likely, I think, too technical of a term. I don't think it was like.
I think it's broad. No, like you say crypto and you say blockchain, and it's like for a lot of other people, that, I mean, the normies out there, that's good enough, right? But if you go to one of these conferences, you're talking to somebody else. Well, maybe you want to define that a little more. Like, what's your sector? Are you in NFTs? Are you in DeFi? Are you in decentralized science, DeSci? There's so many different terms that are being developed at the moment to just like encapsulate the sector that you're in. And I think for me, like when I hear people say I'm in Web3, I think that what you're talking about is that you are involved in like, whether it's a specific token, but that has added functionality and interaction, right? Like it's already like a SaaS or something like that, right? But it's Web3 enabled, so it's crypto enabled.
Yeah. To me, it just means
that's what I think. You say Web3, it's like, what is it? Is it a community?
Yeah.
Is it a DAO? I'll still ask a little bit further down, like to try to niche down like what exactly you're involved in or we're talking about. But it definitely puts me in a specific sector. It's like, oh, okay, here.
Yeah, to me, it just means that you're working on decentralized applications, which could take many different forms.
Thank you.
But what I think is, again, to me, what's not vibing with what Pio's doing here is he's using basically like really simple trend analysis.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you focused on catching a wave and defining a trend and being trendy? Or are you trying to be part of something like much bigger than that, right? So it's like, I'm not trying to be trendy. I'm trying to be part of building the future. Yeah. And that's not a fucking quick pump and dump. To me, this is a long-term growth trajectory.
Are people like copywriting these terms, or why are people so obsessed with it? Like NFTs, no, digital assets, no, fucking Web3, fidgetals. Like, God, like as long as you can get the point across and somebody else understands, let's get into the nitty gritty of it.
Clearly, a volatile topic here. I would also like to add too, like I think Marty was talking about crypto, and obviously being in the time that I got into crypto, it was just crypto. There were no NFTs. Really, Web3 was not a term at that point. And I think a lot of people forget in Web3 that you're actually in crypto, because they could be used like pretty much similarly. So I think a lot of people forget that stuff because we use the term Web3 that you're essentially in cryptocurrency, and regardless if it's a ERC 721 or an ERC 720, I think that's
it's kind of no. I think Biggie had a good point too.
You're Web 5.
Like, well, the other part of this is Web 1 and Web 2 are things that are like much bigger than a simple trend. Whether or not you think that Web 3 is trendy enough, or like your basic analysis looking at Google Trends tells you that Web3 is a cool term, Web3 is a thing that will be here for a while, right? So it's like you cannot separate, like this is not just a branding thing. This is an actual thing that is about the history of all of internet culture and the capabilities of what the internet can do. Like, what is the technology actually doing?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. There was read only for Web 1. There was read and write for Web 2, which is where we've been for the last 15 to 20 years. And now we have read, write, and own. We have decentralized ownership and autonomy and sovereignty and actual ownership over digital assets for the first time. That's what separates these different eras in the internet. So it's like, it's not about being a trend or a catchword. Web3 is still a thing, whether you want to talk about it as that's your buzz, you know, your certain nomenclature. I mean, this to me feels like he's trying to be, he's trying to be contrarian. And I disagree.
I wouldn't put too much, I wouldn't put that much stock in it unless he's like really getting after it on like multiple tweets. I do think, to your point, it's a great way to explain the history of where we go. I felt like Web3 is my easiest way to explain what we're doing to people based on using those eras, right? Web 1, where the internet existed in like a non-user interface way. Web 2, where it did, but we didn't have any ownership. And then Web 3, where we put those together. It's a very easy way to explain it. And I get people with the not glazed over look when I explain it in that way. So, yeah. I did not think it was going to be that big a topic, guys, but we will move on to this next piece.
It's a good one.
Real quick. Hasbulla NFTs are doing promoted tweets on Twitter. That's usually a bad sign for an NFT project.
Oh, no.
Actually,
just saying.
When you asked me what the Hasbulla NFTs were doing, I had just scrolled by a promoted NFT. I was like, oh, God. All right. Very quick news on these two pieces here. Neopets raising $4 million to bring the game into the metaverse. I have no idea what's going on here with Neopets Meta. Just wanted to share that Neopets is apparently launching a metaverse. We'll check it out. Apparently 150 million fans worldwide. Iconic 90s pets game. I think I remember playing Neopets as a kid, but not sure how this is going to play out. Again, the metaverse narrative. If this was launched a year or a year and a half ago, it would have been news. Still is, but how viable it is based on the experience of the past year and a half, we don't know. Axie Infinity, I think, Gif, you were talking about this. Axie Infinity sees active users rise 59%. Is play to earn cool again? My answer would be no. And my answer would also be, why are people buying in to what apparently the narrative or story that's being pushed around is that the Axie Infinity token is getting distributed so more widely, essentially. So I think CoinDesk here was talking about it. The latest positive market action may seem confounding, as some 4.8 million AXS tokens, 64 million at the current price, the equivalent of 1.8 of the cryptocurrency's total supply, will be freed up later Monday. I think this was written on the 23rd, meaning, so it was released already. So not sure how we see a price increase on a supply dump, but that's apparently that. People are playing Axie Infinity. I'm not in the ecosystem, so don't want to get stuck with too much of a foot in my mouth, but I'm not a big fan of Axie. I don't want to talk shit. People are building. Axie is one of the biggest Web3 games in the space. It's just kind of a sour point for a lot of us on how they kind of ran with the play-to-earn narrative without any self-regulation. And that's the easiest way I could put that. Any thoughts? Axie Infinity here before we move on.
Yeah, to me, it's also, I think, I mean, it was a great moment in time, again, like a great experiment in time to me, where gaming showcased something that you couldn't do before and that you can do now, right? Like using Web3 technology. But I love the art itself. It's really dope. It's another train that I missed, speaking of which. But I also feel like between that and the, what do you call them? The guilds, like the amount of guilds that popped up like gremlins around this thing was just insane. Like, and for a short while, it was also really cool during COVID to see that like people in the Philippines, especially, like, were able to sustain their livelihoods doing this.
That was what they sold.
So there's really, yeah, exactly. It was like, it's like, I think it's cool. Like, I will never bash it for that reason, because they were a first mover in that regard. And I don't think the play to earn narrative is dead per se, but I think it's been proven that it's Marty. But I think it's been proven that it needs some tooling, right? Like, I think it'll come back, but refined and maybe in a better iteration. I don't know. I don't know why I don't think that's going to be Axie, the one to do it, though.
It's not. It's 100% not. And
I got cheese. I mean, I'm sorry.
It goes back. It goes back to the Bryson conversation we are having earlier, right? It's like you have to do it, and they are doing like a play to earn ish, right? In a different way. You're not earning ERC20 tokens. You're actually spending some. But make sure we don't bastardize it. Let's make sure not to abuse that system, which is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they're paying for it now. Okay, last quick news piece. So that we're getting to this quick news piece, and then we are hitting on Porsche, and we're hitting on Coinbase NFT, which had a huge negative announcement to make from Brian Armstrong, their CEO over at Coinbase. All right, we've got Nyan Cat. We brought it up multiple times. I've got a thread here on why the Nyan balloon is the most fun DGen play of 2023. We're going to mix in a little conversation about burn mints that we touched on a little bit yesterday. But why are Nyan balloons, I wouldn't call them running. Are they run? Actually, they are kind of running, aren't they?
I mean, for what you bought them for, I mean, I only regret not using another wallet to mint more because I was trying to be a responsible DGen. So I'll tell you this though, I think it's fun, man. I think it's fun. I'm having a hard time choosing which I like enjoy a little bit, like I've already like asked my wife what balloon she likes better, but I'm obviously tempted for the question mark one, and I'm convinced, Q, that it's gonna be like you need like 3 red balloons, and it's kind of like, it reminds me, I don't know if you remember that movie with Eddie Murphy. It's called like The Golden Child or something like that. 80s movie, real funny. He's like having to take care of this like little Buddha kid, but there's like this trial that he has to do where he has to like hop all over these little like pedestals and like between cobwebs and stuff, and like he's supposed to have a cup of water where he's not supposed to spill a single fucking drop. It's hilarious. If you ever want to go check it out, it's really funny. But that's what I feel this is like. It's like you have to go through all this FOMO of like what your favorite color is for these balloons, and then if you are able to get through it with your 3 red balloons intact, you get to mint that mysterious color, which I am hoping is a rainbow colored balloon, right? Because Nyan Cat, and I'm sure everybody else is too. And towards the end, it's gonna turn out that every other color is way more rare than the freaking rainbow one because everybody like held on to their balloons. I don't know. It's fun though. That's what it's supposed to be. It's fun.
I hope it's a Pop-Tart. I hope it's just like he's just holding on to a Pop-Tart. I think, look, this is what is really fascinating me with this new sort of like burn mint thing that's happening with this and the Lucrece, proceed with caution. And I'm sure there's a couple others that are all doing similar things. Seems like this is like a new meta. And what's really fascinating to me with something like this is that it's the simplicity, because what a mint and a burn mechanic allows is like a very easy way to just push buttons and use game theory, right? So people are just applying game theory through the simple pushing of a yes or no. It's like binary: burn, mint, burn, which color. It's very simple. Just choose a color balloon. And it's easy for people to understand, and so you're basically, you're teaching people how to just push a simple button, choose a yes or a no, choose your own adventure with a simple yes or no, and see where it goes. And I think, again, the simplicity is part of what's resonating, because we've had a lot of these very, high concept, big ideas of like, we're going to develop a whole fucking Web3 game and a world and a metaverse. And if you do this, then like you take 5 other things. And like, even the Yuga Labs thing is pretty complicated with all the different Evos. There's been a lot of these very, very complicated and even overcomplicated mint, roadmaps and mechanics. I think people are loving that they just get to push a button and not think very much about it and see where it goes. And yeah, I think there's something to be said for this. And I think even the fact that the whole game that's being played here can be summed up in that meme that you showed, where it's just like pushing a button, like which one, right? Do you like want that color or burn or not? It's like literally the whole game. Is it just in a fucking pushing a button, yes or no?
Yellow is today. I like the yellow one. It's nice. It's
Sometimes
hard.
in this space, I'm like, how do I explain this to people what I do? The yellow one is nice. I like the yellow one. I will say it's fun to like have a project actually come out with something, even if it's in the technical ability to pull this off. It's not like it took an hour to set this up. Like they had to obviously get some things together to pull this off. So kudos to them. But it's like you did something. Like that's what a lot of this space craves when we're talking about the gutter cats and like not doing a lot of things like interesting and not kind of fulfilling on the roadmap. Like people just want to be able to do shit with their NFTs.
They lead to like fun conversation pieces, right? Like I find like these little things, like later on, if you go to a conference or something, you start talking about it and it comes up and it's like, what balloon did you get, right? And it's like, oh, you stuck with the rarest one, or you were able to hold until the end for the grand finale. Like it's just fun, but it does, I don't know, it's very strange. Like it's like these little moments in crypto history where if you partook in it, you have this story to tell, and it seems to happen often in all these conferences. It's a lot of fun. It leads to great friendships and great conversation and some knowledge in the end, usually.
Yeah, I pulled up both price charts, and it feels like just today, really, we saw the most volume on both the original Nyan Cats and the balloons. You can see here. Obviously over the last 7 days, and then you see this large spike on January 24th. This is the OG, but really the balloons have seen the same exact thing here on the 24th. If I could pull it up, it seems like people are like just finding out about this this project and buying in. Would I be correct on that, or is this volume more to do with the mechanic?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like cats are weird on the net, isn't it? Like cats just perform well. Instagram, whatever the hell it is, like just cats. There's a lot of cat lovers out there. I like cats too, but like it's insane.
I don't know, bro. The term cat hasn't been trending on Google Trends lately, though, so it's probably dead.
Rebrand.
Got hurt by
We need to rebrand those felines.
All right, we are moving into our biggest topic of the day. If you made a profit on some Nyan Cats or Nyan balloons, these guys were talking about them in the last 48 hours before they ran up, maybe even before that. But
yeah,
I know that's been a topic of combo.
Didn't take my own advice.
So I feel you on that one. I've been caught there plenty of times, and you guys have called me out for it. Gables is telling me to buy a Hasbulla live on stream. I don't know if I will. I don't. This second drop got me a little jaded on Hasbulla. I still love the guy, but I don't think we'll be memeing the Hasbulla NFT anytime soon.
Leaving a bad taste.
Just a little bit. All right, guys, we are into our biggest topic of the day. It was the thumbnail. It is a large portion of conversation for the NFT space, and for someone here.
A portion.
A portion. Yeah.
You fucking. I see what you're doing, Q. Already like jabbing me.
Didn't even mean to. All right, so here's the topic we're into. We would love to get your input here on this topic as well. Porsche got into the Web3 space, and they got into it with all the right ideals. At least they said so. They had all of the artists lined up. They had all of the NFTs created. It was going to be this awesome experience where you could customize NFTs and all this stuff. And then they decided, hey, you know what? We should try to raise $11 million on this one. We should try to sell 7,500 mints of this NFT for 0.911 a piece, because apparently that's the meme for their 9.
Wink, fucking wink.
And it was not well received. It did not even get close to minting out, and they have since come out with an announcement that I will pull up shortly that they are actually going to burn the remainder that weren't sold. So we are in that situation. It did not do well, thank God. Like, these are the things we don't want to happen, but when they do launch, hopefully everybody doesn't ape in and kind of support this kind of behavior from Porsche. But without going, too far more into it, give me your takes, guys. I'll leave it open. Porsche NFTs.
Well, okay, I'm gonna try to be a little more zen than I was yesterday. I'm sorry to disappoint Prodigy. Like honestly, I'll tell you this. Like I was a little bit not dismayed, but like I was reflecting back on yesterday. And believe me, I'm a passionate individual. When I have a position or a stance on something, I'm not quiet about it. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat my words, and that's fine. I'm, in this particular case, you showed it to me, Q, and like I just immediately I had a gut reaction because of my time in the space, because I've seen so many other projects. My spider senses just started tingling and said I did not want anything to do with this project. Lo and behold, we scroll down, we start seeing the fucking horrible copy, the crazy egregious freaking price, just everything, and it just pissed the living shit out of me, right? And honestly, after the space, I fucking shut up, Marty. You'd not do that. But like honestly, like I was like, man, like did I fly off the handle a little bit sometimes? Because sometimes that stuff can bite you in the ass, right? And there's actually something good that came out of it, Q. You know what it is? I've been keeping my eye on Dead Fellas for a very long time. I want to be part of that community, and I've been looking at it for the longest time, just for my perfect Dead Fellas. And lo and behold, the afternoon came in, and Betty agrees with me. Betty agrees with me. Thank you, Betty. Honestly, like it really meant the world to see somebody else echo the same sentiments. Because sometimes you do have to question yourself a little bit. Like, was I a little bit too harsh? Was I a little bit too crazy? Am I like, am I just being a futter? I don't want to be a futter. But seeing that, and then the follow-ups that she had, Betty, I'm coming. I am already hunting for my Dead Fellas. I'm not well versed in this space, but if people out there are, I'd be happy for some suggestions. I have several favorites already, kind of looking to snipe. So that's a good thing that came out of it, right? But yeah, it's what a missed opportunity. Again, like you've said, like we don't want to FUD these big companies. We want them to succeed. We want them to onboard new people. But like honestly, I it's pretty disheartening because I honestly think that it's not going to happen with these. The people running, it's like Congress, right? It's the same people running these behemoths, these dinosaurs that are on their way out, like just about to croak, and their mentality is totally different than ours, right? Like it's extractive, it's moats, it's like copyright everything, sue anybody that infringes on our IP, like just it's a scarcity mindset, and at the same time it's a winner take all mindset, and I hate it, and I can't wait to be done with it. And it just I would love to see like at least one or a couple of these like come into the space and really like embrace it the way it's meant to be, and like actually listen to people if you're actually paying them, because like Betty said, like some of these actually hire people that are knowledgeable in the space and then completely ignore the shit out of them, right? It reminds me of when we had Ronan here talking about, what was it, Time Magazine, that did the same thing, right? Like low effort cash grabs that don't give a crap about their biggest fans and building a real community. And it's a missed opportunity, because I think in the end, if they did it right, it would be like exponentially better for their brand. Like, and I don't know how you recoup from something like that. So, anyway,
well, it sounds like
my rant today.
So somebody was, maybe this is it. Yeah, so they're cutting supply. So this sounds like, they are making moves to try and change and pivot a little bit.
Too late.
More info in the next few hours. But yeah, it's like what's happened now is they've taken $2.5 million from 1,600 people, and they've got to fulfill on a bunch of promises that they were expecting to fulfill on based upon the tokenomics of 7,500. And so it's just like they're in a tough spot now, and it is hard to kind of walk back and redo this. And the interesting thing about this, even back to what Biggie was saying about the way that the whole world or whatever that was doing their tweet thing. It's like when you create an uncomfortable, negative, or jarring experience from an audience and you ask too much of them too quickly at an inappropriate time, like not only will they like maybe ignore or not do what you want them to, you can actually create a negative response. So you can actually, this is where you hurt your brand, is that you actually like come into a space and like kind of piss people off. You're like, dude, y'all are just not in touch and not paying attention, and you're coming in with all this ego, just, you know, with your hands out. And to what, you know, Krugman was saying on that tweet, Nifty Q, I think there's really two ways that big brands can succeed. I think one of them is doing exactly what he's saying here, which is come in with a very, very cheap, low barrier of entry, come in and make it as easy as possible for people that want to be in your community to join in and be part of that, find that community, prove the value first, and then figure out how you expand and build on that success. That's one way. The other way is to do the Gary Vee way, which is actually, and this is what I keep fucking saying a million times, take the time, put in the effort, and invest in educating and onboarding your existing community into Web3, right? So either you can come in with a low barrier, easy to get into product that helps you find the community in Web3, or you can actually bring your community into Web3 to make sure that they're there. But like those to me are the two ways to do it. And if you're not doing that, then you're just not going to make it. You're like, it's not going to work. It's not going to gel. So yeah, it's a great tweet. And I think the other alternative would have been for Porsche to actually spend a few months really getting into their community, educating, onboarding, and bringing them on the journey. And obviously they didn't do that.
Now here's a question for you guys. Like, I've seen projects like this, like not maybe big corporations, projects with a lot more skin in the game, founders with actual great intentions, and they mint something maybe at a too high of a price, but it doesn't work out. They refund people for this. Do you think Porsche should refund them? Do you think Porsche, if they wanted to get into the good graces of the poor people that actually freaking went for this thing, you should refund them? Refund them their money, 100%.
I think they should
start all over. If you're really earnest about doing something right in the space, that's what you should do. Of course not.
I doubt they're going to, but I do think like in a situation like this where you've taken a lot of money, like again, this was like what $1,300 to $1,400 to mint this poster, this customized poster. Like I think if they were to be again like super like we want to make this right and go about this the right way, I think they would offer a chance for people to get a refund here. I doubt they will. I doubt it'll happen, frankly, but I think back to the like sort of the questions that everybody
that would be the right thing.
And I agree. And Betty, you know, Betty's out there launching her own competing consultancy now with the Web3 network consultancy.
We need to get her to join.
You know, I think that whoever is advising these people or whoever's making the calls for all these brands really is doing a harm, doing a disservice, not just to those brands, to the whole space. They're creating disharmony, friction, bad experiences all across the board. And I just have to say again, I think it's absolutely insane that even a big brand like someone like Porsche would drop a 7,500 supply at almost 1 ETH mint price in the middle of a bear market. It is so tone deaf. It is so incredibly tone deaf to think that in the middle of a bear market, people are just going to be handing over $1,400 for a poster of a Porsche.
Okay. So this says Road to Dreams, which doesn't feel like they're like this standalone like consultancy or anything like that, but it says Road to Dreams and Porsche collaborate to start the journey into Web3. Because right now the discussion we're having is like, and it's the same discussion that we had with Game of Thrones and why we were so negatively focused on the Nifties, is that they've done this multiple times. And they're supposed to be Web3 focused. So I have no idea who this consultancy is. It might be Road to Dreams. It might not be on the website. But these people that are facilitating these drops should be just as accountable as what we see with Porsche. Porsche is obviously out there. Game of Thrones is out there. They're going to take the heat. But whoever's actually behind these drops, passing on these Game of Thrones mints that have like ridiculous reveals, or passing on these Porsche mints that have ridiculous prices, y'all need to get your shit together.
They should give the money back that they took.
Specifically why? Because it's not okay to bring your fucking crooked ideas into this space. Honestly, like that pisses me the fuck off. Like this place, like I think people miss the forest for the trees when people see WAGMI and GM and stuff like that. Like honestly, like that's what makes this space so great is that we've been able to mold it like on our own little bubble for so long, and there is like a core ethos to it, right? Even amongst the fudders, right? Decentralization, fucking ownership, self sovereignty.
We have our own culture.
I like to have these fucking vultures try to come into this space and do this bullshit and try to inject these like antiquated approaches to their tokenomics or economics of their business models. It just enrages me, man. Like, no, thank you, man. Like, stay in your fucking lane. I'm not saying, it's like, keep making Porsches. They're great. Just like, why do you need to come in here? Why? You're not offering anything of value whatsoever. Like a fucking poster. Are you kidding me? Like, get out of here. Yeah.
There's so many things live, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's so many things that they could have done, and I don't want to go through the whole journey of doing the consultation live again. There's so many things that they could have done, but here's again like where the insult and the injury comes in, and why I feel what Biggie's saying, and this sort of like disgust / anger at these people is that we have this culture that we've been developing, the community's been developing that really cares about Web3, NFTs. Crypto has its own culture. Like, we are not just like the same as Web 2, Web 3, whatever, like or Web 1 or any of these other legacy institutions, or like we have our own insulated culture that we all care very, very much about. And what these marketing agencies and these advisors that are advising on these projects are doing is they're basically just like telling them like, look, if we just use the right buzzwords and we wrap it up with a metaverse, with a roadmap, with a Discord, and we just like kind of take these things that we know are popular in the culture and we just say we're going to do all this stuff, then and we slap our brand on it, they're going to eat that shit up. And all like that is the replacement of them actually investing in the culture and creating value. They think that they can just slap, these buzzwords and tell us the pretty things that we like to hear, and that we're just going to hand over all of our fucking ETH without actually like paying attention to what's your track record. Are you actually part of this community? Have you done anything in the community? Like, what is your actual investment into Web3 exactly? Other than just saying a bunch of pretty words on a website. Like, have you shown anything that shows that you are part of this community? And that's what's so insulting about it, is they still don't seem to understand that like we care about this community. We have our own culture, and if you're not part of it, like we don't.
And it goes back to the argument that we were talking about, GIF, right? Like, it's the difference between Web 2 and Web 3. Like, stop asking yourself, how can I get, and start asking, how can I give? It's two ways now. It's not one way anymore.
We brought this up.
Get over it.
We brought this up on the morning show. It's the same thing that happened with the lending platforms. BlockFi and Celsius sold themselves as Web3 companies. They were actually Web2 companies that held Web3 assets. That was the difference, and that's why people got fucked. So it's when you're marketing to two audiences, or in the lending platforms case, they were marketing to Web3, that even though they were Web2. In this case, GIF, we talked about this. They were marketing to, I guess, both of their communities. It doesn't work like that. You can't pick two. You can't say, hey, we have this awesome Porsche community that exists, but then say I want to be Web3. We're not big enough to do that right now. It's not NFTs. This technology isn't widely adopted enough to go to your current community and say, hey,
you can't say, hey, we're going to do a lot of really, really cool stuff for the Web3 community.
Yeah.
If you give us $11 million.
Yep. People wouldn't be putting up a fight if they just went with Web 2 and they called them digital collectibles or digital artwork for their current Web 2 community. Nobody would have said shit. Like, oh, they're NFTs, I might buy them.
Their ego in that approach says to you that they think that we are all just going to feel so lucky and grateful that they're here. Mm-hmm. Versus like the other way around. It's like they should be excited about the prospect of like working with this community and this new generation of builders to create something new and different and expand their brand. They should be grateful to be adopted into this new community that doesn't need them, doesn't care about them. they should come at this with a very different angle other than like, yo, we're fucking Porsche and we showed up to the party. Give us all your fucking ETH and be happy that we're here because we're about to do some cool shit for y'all. And that's the approach.
And we saw it like not too long ago also with Hennessy, right? Where they came out with their token and they're promising they're going to make all these parties. Like, it was abysmal, like horrible fucking reception. Same thing, right? And that's an LVMH company, right? Like, they just don't get it. And and either that or they're not listening to the people they're paying to help them out with this, like Betty said. So
Game of Thrones should be sending these guys a Christmas card because we're not talking Game of Thrones anymore. I know the space moves fast, but everybody's onto this one. And I wonder what the reaction would have been if Game of Thrones hadn't botched their launch, because I feel like this is on top of that. Like, we got them back to back. So now people are like, what the fuck? This shit needs to stop. This isn't just one, but this is back
if you're paying
to back.
attention, if you're actually paying attention as a brand looking to get into the space and you want to do it well, you should be hyper aware right now that the sentiment towards these brands is very, very negative. And again, this just shows how tone deaf that they are, that they have no idea what the actual sentiment around a big brand entering in right now is. And they think that they could come out with something like this. It's crazy to me that somebody advising them would not point out and be like, hey, you know, there's been a lot of other drops right now that haven't been going very well. We should do XYZ to try and pivot and make sure that this is received really, really positively. They're just not fucking caring and actually paying attention.
Well, I'm hoping that whoever was going to come after them is paying attention, you know, and either they choose to stay in their lane or, you know, really do the work to embrace this community and try to understand it and engage it. You know, I think we're all very receptive towards it. Like, we're all hoping for it. Just do it right. Just do it right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great comments came through while we were having that discussion. Justin Casey, we see you there. Jack's Hideaway had a great one. They just don't get it and don't understand incentives for themselves or others in this industry. NFT Cutie says other car companies will learn a lot from this Porsche Mint. Don R saying a call for integrity. Love it, Biggie. Marty McFly saying poster. I thought I was getting a car.
Yeah. Well, and another, you know what? This is a good segue into the Coinbase conversation because you
Hot Wheels.
The incentives are not really there or aligned with the community, and just being kind of like out of touch, not really in sync or pivoting quickly enough to really like figure out how to make it work. Coinbase NFT apparently is paused indefinitely. And this is like a breaking news headline that we got in GM Web3 this morning. Jessica Yatrovsky, shout out Jay Yacht, we love you. She came through and shared this, it's really unfortunate for the whole space and extremely unfortunate for the artists that have been working with them for like over a year to launch their projects or already launching projects on their platform that is now going away. Those projects haven't been supported properly because of all of their internal issues and their inability to get their shit together. So yeah, I sent you that link, Q. I don't know if you want to pull it up or you want me to.
I did. I didn't see the actual mention about Coinbase NFT. I see that they're laying off employees.
Yeah, well, I think it's all associated with it. So what we've heard though is that Coinbase NFT is basically being paused indefinitely. So maybe it hasn't even been announced. Maybe we're literally breaking news. Or maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit and maybe they're going to pivot and do something else. But as far as we know, it sounds like Coinbase NFT is being paused indefinitely. And you know what? Wouldn't be surprised. We haven't been hearing anything from them, really. Like, where have they been? They've been nowhere, right?
Wow.
So I just want to point out, this is from Brian Armstrong, CEO. Thanks for sending over the link there, GIF. Therefore, I've made the difficult decision to reduce our operating expense by about 25% quarter over quarter, which includes letting go of about 950 people. All impacted team members will be informed by today. So this announcement, it doesn't quite say that they're doing anything with Coinbase NFT, but it does say that they're downsizing by 25%, or at least reducing operating expenses by 25%. So
new products that aren't performing are going to be the first on the chopping block. That's usually how that goes. Yeah.
And I do want to point out that this is happening at, like Gift had said, we're kind of breaking this, but I mean, this is abysmal. Like abysmal. Like, not okay, volume over 24 hours, maybe they've shut down the site. I have no idea what it looks like now, but they only did 7 million all time I would love to go to NFTGO right now and see what the top collections are doing. Like even like a mid-sized collection is doing over a 30-day period. Their biggest day was on September 10th, and since then, I mean, are these sales or is this ETH? I think it's ETH.
Microtransactions, Q.
1 ETH.
Yeah, it's not great.
Look, man, I don't want to kick a horse while it's down, but this was botched 10 million different ways. They had a lead with the ability to take the user base they had and move along with it. They botched it almost completely.
Massive, because again, you can look at what Blur's been able to achieve with some good incentive programs over just the last couple months. Blur's been putting OpenSea, up against the wall, like competing directly head to head with OpenSea for the last couple months. And they seem to achieve that easily with one really, gamified, interesting airdrop mechanic. Like they had a smooth platform that allowed you to trade quickly, and they came in with a really interesting, incentive program and a token. And like, look at what Blur's doing. Coinbase isn't even on the fucking map. Like, and again, it's astonishing when you look a year, like what has happened in a year. Coinbase are the ones that did a fucking Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah,
they did a Super Bowl commercial, and they have 100 million crypto users already at their fingertips that they can get to in their ecosystem using the Coinbase app. The fact that we were all sitting here yeah, this is definitely going to be a game changer. They're going to be able to potentially onboard millions of new people in the NFT space. That's because if they'd done it right, they easily could. I don't see it easily, but that is definitely possible of what could have happened if they'd done this properly. All they would have done, let's just say, all they would have needed to do is create an interesting game mechanic with a token reward for their Coinbase users specifically, and say, hey, if you're a Coinbase user within this amount of time and you get in to start trading on this platform now, we're going to be doing XYZ incentives of you earning, some kind of token reward.
They couldn't do a token. They're too tied in. They make too much money on the exchange side to expose themselves from a regulatory standpoint, so they couldn't do the token.
They could do some kind of giveaways,
how about an
cash
NFT?
Cash giveaways, NFT giveaways. There's other incentives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To gamify.
Jack's Hideaway saying, in my opinion, only NFT use case for centralized platforms like Coinbase is proof of membership. I got to disagree with that. They could have easily launched a really intuitive platform for NFT trading. That was the whole thing with Blur. Is yes, they're incentivizing with the token. Don't get me wrong. But half of the people go in there and they're like, this is how I want to trade NFTs. I'm a trader. I want to be able to look at NFTs on a book. If you go into Blur right now and you trade, it looks like what could be Coinbase Pro. You know what I mean? It looks like a trading book platform. Coinbase could have done that. They already had the Coinbase. They're already a huge centralized exchange. You could have launched a cool interface for trading NFTs. Instead, were like, we're just going to be OpenSea.
Yeah, that was their mistake. Yeah, trying to be OpenSea. I think you're right in a lot of ways. And we haven't hit on the OpenSea Launchpad really yet, but this whole Coinbase thing is honestly very disappointing.
Did you guys
and again,
other
not
than Jess's drop, did you use it?
I think I bought a Jimena on there, and I think I minted 1 or 2 generative pieces from Bright Moments. So I've got a couple NFTs that are probably going to be stuck there, or I don't know, maybe I can transfer them out.
Get them out.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but it's a big loss. Honestly, it's a big L for the NFT community in general. I think to have somebody like a Coinbase that really had so much potential to really help build out the space and create good experiences and add liquidity and more users and onboard, to lose them this quickly and without really even them achieving much at all.
Not even out the gate.
Is a big L. Yeah, I think it's a big L for the space, honestly. But it has to be mentioned. There was maybe 50 to 100, I think, different individual artists who were very invested in their success too, because Coinbase basically, partnered with them, spent a lot of time getting them to work on doing these, partner drops on their platform. And a lot of them either never got supported properly, they were drawn out over a year or more, or may never even come to fruition despite all of the time and effort that was put into it yet. So I feel for Jess and I feel for the artists. Eddie Gangland's one, Jimena, like we know a bunch of these community artists that are also impacted directly.
Biggie, why do you think they failed? Like, I know that's a general question, but like, why?
Man,
did Coinbase
I was just thinking about that, and honestly, the best I can come up with is that being a DeFi kind of, finance focused business, they didn't see the forest for the trees. Very much like what Kobe says about NFTs being a token with a JPEG attached to it. It's a cynical point of view, because when you really go down to it, it's like there's so much more to it, like of an ownership and an emotional attachment that comes with NFTs, like a pride of owning a piece of art that you very much love, or forming part of a community that you really want to be a part of, and building together and doing what we do here. I think that's what they miss, right? Like you were talking about that, and yeah, I agree. Like they couldn't have launched the token, and maybe even an NFT, like a tradable NFT, was out of the question. But I don't know, maybe like a soulbound token, something that actually connected with their users and gave them a sense of pride and belonging to that platform, and maybe gave them certain perks, right? Like I don't know how they could have botched that more than that. Like I really do think that they are a financially focused business that try to expand into another arena without really understanding it, which I can't get it for the longest time. Even when it failed after, like a couple of months, and I think we brought it up in one of the spaces, and I was like, it's okay. Like they're playing the long game. They're waiting for the boomers to onboard the boomers and the people that don't really like want to degen or be so sovereign as ours, right? And using ledgers and all that stuff. But yeah, after this time and seeing what they're doing, it just feels like they did not understand the space, or did not hire the people that do.
They were. I think if they were launched at near
but
the
like
start
you said,
of the NFT
but like you
bull-run.
had said, they could be late. They had all the freaking. They have all the users. They have everything. They just needed to brand it correctly and actually, again, like form a community around it, like something that you're proud of holding and that gives you certain access or perks in this ecosystem. But I didn't see any of that. So
I think one interesting thing just to point out too is to be very, very skeptical of any of these big brands that are doing this very Web2 marketing, sort of showy. Again, like they did the Super Bowl commercial. They were all over VCon. They had the Coinbase stage. They were doing all of this big like marketing showy, like, look, we're the big guys with all the money. Come love us. Another example of this is Harmony. Harmony was like ETH Denver. They spent millions of dollars to bring in fucking Deadmau5. Harmony was all over all the different conferences, sponsoring everything. They had the shirts and all. I think the companies that are doing that without actually having like the product there first are usually going to fail. They're not going to make it. I think that's one of the interesting things that I've seen. It's like, if you're spending all this fucking money out here, spending millions of dollars on Super Bowl commercials before you even have a workable product, dude, you're fucking it up. Like you're missing the point. You're being very cart horse, putting cart before the horse. Yeah. So shout out to Squashman. I just checked my email too. So Squashman called out Jimena just launched her first open edition. So I actually have this if you want to pull it up.
I'll pull it up. Last thing, I want to get to this last comment here on this Coinbase thing, and then we'll move on to this last and close out the episode. Quantum Berry said they started around March 2022. We did pull up the chart. We know that they launched. I mean, dude, I'll give Coinbase some flowers here, or maybe take away some of the kicks, because that is possibly the worst time ever that they could have launched. And that's, like, regardless of what features they rolled out, all this stuff, like, we know if comparing them to Blur, okay, like, that wasn't going to work. But for their user base, if they had launched in March 2021, we're probably looking at this a little bit differently, because that gives them more time to compete with OpenSea. I mean, they couldn't have launched at a worse time. March 2022, 4 months into the bear market. I'll give them that. GIF. We've got the heart opening power. This is Cementus Open Edition.
Yeah, so apparently this is only open for 48 hours, and Squashman just called this out. I did get this email. I put the link in the private chat too. If anybody wants to go there, if you want to drop that in the chat, 0.06 for a stunning piece. This is a very, very beautiful Jimena Buenavida Open Edition live right now, and it's only open for 48 hours. So if y'all want to check that out and support one of our favorite community artists, there you go.
I dropped that in chat for y'all. Quantum Variant saying love Jimena. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely check out the link. Otherwise, that is the end here of the episode. I mean, that was a good one. Biggie, I got to be honest. You were saying that I was upset, or you had said something about like your comments yesterday. I love that stuff. Like that was you speaking truthfully. That was you speaking,
Thank you, my friend.
you know, right from the heart. And I want you to do more of that. You know, not just be obviously passionate, but I mean, it was great, honestly. So don't stop doing that.
I appreciate that, my friend. You know, like it's sometimes like when you're up here and you're doxxed and you're live and you can't take shit back sometimes. It's a little, I gotta say, it's a little bit scary, you know, because I'm by no means perfect, and I don't want to be a fucking futter. I don't want to be like disabled, right? Like I want, if I say something or I have an argument in particular, I want it to make sense. And so I don't know, sometimes you just try to rewind the tape back from memory. You're like, shit, was I like fucking out of my fucking mind? So I appreciate that, Q, very much, man. I do have an ask for our viewers. Like I'm so we've talked about this, like maybe having a rate my bags for next week, which I'm super excited about because it's going to be centered around generative art. And so I'm going through the list and I'm trying to like do some prep about what art pieces. I was debating that. It's like, should we focus on the artist or should we focus on the pieces? And I figured, hey, let's do the pieces, right? And so I'm going through this list, and one thing that I've come to realize is like it's easy to come up with like obviously the high performing ones, the ones that everybody loves. But I'm just curious if there's I'm sure there's sleepers out there that I am not considering. And so I would love our community to help me like brainstorm a little bit, or just show me like a particular project you're passionate about that you think should be in Rate My Bags. It's the first edition. We're going to continue refining it as it goes along. And I think it's cool that we're going to start off with the most known ones, right? And try to like place them on that scale. But I also want to have, like, I started thinking, I was like, which ones are like the low tier, like the lowest tier, like just horrible ones, right? Like, I'm like, I can't think of any. So, man, yeah, Quantum, I know, I'm sure you've got a few, and I'm already apologizing if not everything is going to be on that list. I know there's just such great art just in that particular sector, and I want it to be a success. I want you guys to enjoy it, and hopefully it's something we can continue doing. So DM me or send it to me on my Twitter. I'd love to take a look and, like, yeah, put together a nice initial package for this kickoff.
Love it. Quantum Variant saying looking into letters to my future self on art blocks. Squashman saying my knowledge on gen art is seriously lacking, so looking forward to that Rate My Bag segment. Listen, I'm gonna be on the Rate My Bag segment, and I agree with that. My generative art assets in my wallet is far too low, so I'm looking forward to that and getting schooled on those as well. So
yeah, and I think we're also going to be doing a state of generative art show with Jiwa on Tuesday, like a week from today, on GM Web3. So that'll be something not to miss, because I know that he's already been made aware and like wants to do it. So I'm pretty sure he'll come in with a lot of great alpha specific to generative art next Tuesday on GM Web3. Twitter Spaces.
Go. All right, folks. We see all the comments coming through. We appreciate you going through the entire episode with us. Prodigy saying OVOT, fellas. Jack's Hideaway, another great show. Thank you. Everybody's giving some flowers to everybody up on stage here. Quantum Variant saying, I'll put together my list. This will be fun. So this is going to be
Heck
fun.
yeah.
I'll
Awesome.
tell you what else is
Quantum-
fun.
yeah.
To what's up?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, dude,